I'm Jessica Kringle. Of course, most of you know me as Mrs. Claus, and we are counting down the days until Christmas by doing a different cooking recipe each day. So we're cooking with Claus, and today is December 7th, so let's go to our Advent calendar and see what we're cooking today. Ooh, Rootbeer Date Bars. That's what we get to make today. My mom said that it's one of my brother's favorites, so I'll make sure I save some for him as well. So let me wash my hands and then get the ingredients out and we will get started. Now, if you'd like to bake along with me, you can get the entire recipe at www.crafterscountdown.com, and we'll have the recipes there under the Christmas countdown so that you can try these root beer date bars also. All right, give me just a second here. Okay, well, I've added the dates to a pot, and we're going to put this on the stove and cook on a medium-high heat, medium-high. And we're also going to add our cinnamon and the root beer. Sort of fun to watching it fizz over the dates. I do love dates. It's difficult when chopping them not to chop one and eat one, chop one and eat one, right? We're going to let this boil and then cook it until it thickens. Approximately 10 minutes is what this takes to be able to thicken. So give me just a few minutes here and I will be back with you when this starts to thicken. This up so that it's nice and thick, and that will thicken up just a wee bit more as it cools. But now we need to go ahead and set it aside, and while it's cooling we can go ahead and make the base and the crumble for the top. All right, so give me just a second to get the rest of the stuff out. I have placed the brown sugar in our mixing bowl already, and now I'm going to go ahead and add the butter and the shortening. We've got our butter and our shortening. Right. And we're going to cream this together in the mixer. And while that's mixing, I'm going to mix our dry ingredients. So I've got our flour, our oats, the baking soda and salt. So I'll add these together while this blends. Now that this is all creamed together, I will go ahead and add the dry ingredients to our creamed mixture and let that mix very well. Next we need our 9x13 pan, and it needs to be greased, so we will take a little bit of shortening and a paper towel. Some people like to use their fingers. I'm just not very fond of having the greasiness on my fingers. Didn't even like it when I was a little kid and Mom had me do this part for her. I like to use a paper towel. And I use the same paper towel with all of the baking so that I'm not throwing it away each time. I don't waste it. And it can go in the compost if it's just completely spent or it got dirty, then it's perfectly compostable as well. So I will set that aside. We also need to preheat our oven to 400 degrees. So give me just a second. I'm going to put half of this in here, and you could measure it, but let's just eyeball it. That'll work. We're going to spread that around. That's about half. And we need to spread it and then press it down. And this forms the crust of your Rootbeer Date Bars. Pat that down. Make sure it's nice and packed and condensed all the way around. Make sure you get the edges and the corners. You want to try to push straight down, because if you push off to the side, then it kind of squishes it and loosens it up on the side of where you just pushed. So try to push straight down as much as possible. All right, and that seems pretty well packed in. Make a lovely crust as it bakes. All right, and then let me get our root beer date mix that's been cooling. This is root beer, dates, and cinnamon. It smells divine. I mean, what three things could smell better? They're all amazing by themselves, and you put them together in this. It's just yummy. It's hard not to just eat it, huh? But because it doesn't have raw eggs in here, we can lick the spatula, lick the pan clean. It's still a little bit hot, so if you're a little, make sure that you're having adult supervision, and certainly that you get your adult figure's permission to be cooking this stuff. Some of these things aren't things that people just have in their cupboards all the time. Usually we have flour and sugar and baking soda and salt, but don't always have root beer or dates. I like a spatula because you can scrape the sides and get things pretty well clean here. We're going to spread this around and give it a nice layer. Nice. It's like a date jam. All right, make sure you get this into the corners and get it as even as possible, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Right. And yummy, we get to lick this clean. I'm going to go ahead and scoop a little bit more of it into there first. All right. Next, we take the other half of our crumble and we're going to sprinkle it on the top. Our oven's preheated. Did you hear that? Beep, beep, beep. And then just like before, we're going to pack this down so that it creates a nice crust on the top. Just pat, pat, pat. I like to play Christmas music when I'm baking. What's your favorite Christmas song when you like to work in the kitchen? You know, my grandmother, Helen, didn't matter what time of year we went to visit her, she was singing O Tannenbaum, and I don't think that she spoke German. She just liked O Christmas Tree in German, and she was definitely a soprano, and she would just hear her in there singing O Tannenbaum. So whenever I hear that song, I think of my grandmother Helen. All right, I think we've got that nice and patted down. And we will put this in the oven for 20 to 25 minutes, keeping an eye on it after 20 minutes and see if it's just starting to turn brown on top. So, get this in there. It's ready. yes, nice and beautiful brown. I'm going to get both of my oven mitts. Yes, yes, yes. I'm going to get both of my oven mitts here. And take out our very yummy looking Rootbeer Date Bars. And then we want to cut those while they're still warm. One oven mitt on so that I can grab the side of the pan. I will use the other one to go ahead and cut these. Ooh, and they are warm. Can you hear it sizzling? Those are all cut and they are ready to cool so that they can be eaten. And I'm going to make sure that I take some of these to my brother. Well, thank you so much for joining me today as we count down the days until Christmas by doing a different recipe each day from my family. Most of these are my family recipes. And I do hope that you'll join me tomorrow, December 8th, to find out what we will be doing then. Remember that you can find these recipes in their entirety at www.crafterscountdown.com, and I hope that you're baking along with me. All right, thanks so much for joining me. Bye-bye.